Jacob, welcome here. You're a great member of the OmniFuturists. You've written a chapter for our next book. Let's see if I can get the right one. Yeah, okay. This is this year's book, Future Visions. This one is last year's book. Let's start by having you talk a little bit about yourself. Tell everybody who's listening about Jacob for a little while, okay?
Well, I live in rural Kansas, and my interests include gardening and geology. I'm very interested in how we manage our resources to make civilization function and grow. I'm very early, I enjoyed entering essay contests when I was in high school, writing about things like water conservation and soil due to my exposure to agriculture and realizing these things were the foundation of civilization early on. And that's part of why I wrote my chapter about the prospective technologies that could allow us to manage an energy addition for the economic singularity, because ener consuming more energy is a compounded endeavor, and we need sources of energy that work on new physical properties, in this case, the nuclear force, to supply the amount of energy that this is going to take. And the two main ways of getting that energy that I cover are small modular nuclear reactors of the next generation and deep geothermal power, which harnesses the decaying isotopes inside the Earth.
That's fascinating. Go back for a minute. I happen to know that you grow a bit of your own crops. Why don't you tell people about what you actually grow yourself?
Well, I live on my great grandfather's old homestead that he came out here a long time ago. In fact, farming is one of the reasons why he wasn't allowed to march off to the Second World War, for food production. And I grow, I really like to grow squash, summer squash in particular. Asparagus patch. There's an orchard around here. Sweet corn's always good. I've got plenty of space. Potatoes are a reliable staple. I grow lots of those and store them so that I have enough to eat throughout the year. Um, but yeah, I like to grow and experiment with just about everything.
Excellent hands-on experience. You're not just talking about theoretics. You do quite a bit of this.
I've even lightly experimented with plant breeding.
Fantastic. Very good. Well, thanks for that beautiful introduction. And somehow I've lost visual on my questions. So hold on a second. Okay. So the first question, of course, is, do you think that the economic singularity is likely to occur in the next 10 years? If not, when, if ever?
I believe we have achieved critical mass of tools, building better tools and harnessing energy more effectively. And I think is what bears that out now is you're seeing more and more of these corporate statements of how they're radically downsizing. You think about a big publicly traded oil company like Chevron today announced they're cutting 20% of the workforce. Gone. And that all comes down to these companies have access to technology that's better, faster, cheaper. And it exists. It's just a matter of rolling it out. And I think during the rollout, your people who have like lots of skills and seniority within these organizations will stay on for the rollout. But your people who are maybe just starting a career are going to have problems.
Oh, I would agree. And I'm going to add on a little bit that I think will lead you on to some of your favorite topics. One of the other indicators that you're getting close to the economic singularity. When I was a kid, we had 3 Mile Island, and interest in nuclear died for decades. I mean, when
Mhm.
was that? Late 70s, early 80s when 3 Mile Island hit?
Early 70s, I
Early
believe.
70s. Okay. It's so far back I have trouble remembering. But here's the point: is there was a pun intended, a nuclear winter in nuclear power, and you
Mhm.
look now at folks kind of openly talking about instituting one of your topics there, the modular nuclear reactors to power artificial
Mhm.
intelligence.
Data
You know,
centers.
that's not a minor consideration, considering how abhorrent many people thought nuclear power was for a long time.
Well, I thought we were going in a good direction when I first heard that the site that 3 Mile Island happened on is being recommissioned. I think that goes a long ways towards helping public perceptions around this that wait, it's not a wasteland that you can never visit again. You can actually like operate it again. And
Very
that maybe
good.
we went too far by like scrapping this world leading nuclear program we had at the time, which
Okay.
the reason
So let's go on to the next question is, how would you define the onset of the economic singularity?
I would define that as the point at which our ability to produce the things useful for civilization and transmute energy into the things useful for civilization, labor is no longer a limitation on the rate at which you can do that.
That's an interesting point on that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think a little bit about that. That's a good insight. How do you think that humanity should deal with the economic singularity?
Well, it's the age-old problem of learning to share resources. Because at present, there's a lot of natural capital that our system just allows people to collect rents on. And I believe to have a fair society, you have to invest everybody in that natural capital. And a small version of this that's already happened is like the Alaska Permanent Fund, where it's their oil being extracted, and every citizen in that state receives a piece in exchange for that extraction. And industry's happy because they make value-added products and they make money. And citizens are happy because their resource wealth is being shared with them.
Very good. The next one is, do you think that we'll ever achieve superabundance?
I believe we will because the mathematical constraint on how big an economy can get is how much energy is available to it. And between the geological and cosmic forces available to us, co and just the multiple paths, superabundance is more than possible.
I'm going to
I
say
think
that
it'll,
your selection of nuclear energy as something you want to focus on is absolutely key, because we all know that if you were to stay with, say, coal or oil or natural gas,
uh,
and you do that exponential curve upwards in energy use that
you'll
might
drink the
occur.
entire milkshake. You'll just drink it all and not have it.
That reminds me of a quite a scene in one of the movies. Let's see, was it Getty? Anyway, he was talking about
Oh,
how
there
he
will be blood. Yes,
there
Daniel
will be
Day-Lewis is
blood. He's got
great
the
in that.
long straw into
That's
your
my favorite movie in the bowling alley.
as soon as you said milkshake, that's what I thought of right away. Okay. Um,
Yeah, and this goes back to something we've been dealing with for a long time. That in 1956, Marion King Hubbard, one of the early founders of Technocracy Inc., wrote a paper about his Hubbard peak theory and how he was modeling the supply of hydrocarbon fuel in the world and how you would gradually produce more and more and more and you'd peak. And he did similar peaks for high grade, low sulfur coal and such. And his basic fact was he figured conventional reserves in the United States would top out in about early late 60s, early 70s, and about 1970 that peak hit and production declined because conventional was topped out. The shale revolution has given us a reprieve, and recovery factors in shale are pretty low, so that buys us a lot of time to figure something out.
no, that makes sense. As long as we're talking about fission, how do you feel about the future of fusion?
I like fusion a lot.
There you
Fusion is
go.
the path to becoming a type 1 civilization.
I like it. I thought that might appeal to you. Okay.
I I think a society that has nuclear fusion probably has a cultural renaissance from all the bandwidth that people have freed up.
Okay. Very good. And Are you concerned at all about the arrival of superintelligence?
Well, I'm not because it's inevitable, and we already have technologies that I'd be way more concerned about. Like if they didn't exist and you told me they were coming, like if I didn't know what a nuclear weapon was and you explained what this is and how like a bunch of the world's governments are going to have these laying around, that would terrify me. But we seem to have had restraint as to not destroy ourselves with them. So yeah, super intelligence scares me way less than say a nuclear weapon.
I think that superintelligence might be a key towards superabundance, is that they this higher intelligence may be able to reason out a plan to control this cognitive automation, all the bots and
Mm.
AI, to orchestrate
Well,
factory developments and production to the point at which we achieve
there's
superabundance.
also types of scientific research I flat think you need some kind of a synthetic mind to do because human scientists, we have all kinds of models and things that we interpret the world through, but there's some things that an artificial intelligence would be better at understanding just from being able to grasp and integrate a large number of facts.
I agree. I think you and I might think that the same sort of thing might happen with, let's say, plant breeding is one aspect, but
Mhm.
genetic modification to, really, yeah, I know a lot of folks have a bad reaction to that term, but, to get really beneficial crops that grow in maybe parched areas, for example,
Mhm.
or salty areas, for example,
Yep,
there's
there's
some
salt
benefits.
tolerant rice.
See, there's, and I think some of the GMO development of, as you point out, rice that has a bit more protein in it.
More
Um,
vitamin A.
See, there's aspects that we're already seeing some use of machine intelligence to develop medications, but there's all kinds of other um, combinatorial solutions that you're pointing out your human brain is going to be limited
Mhm.
on. Good points.
Yeah, plant breeding has a lot of positive possibilities in itself as far
Yes,
as nature hasn't made any organism specifically for, say, producing biofuel with, but that's something we might do.
I recall some investigations into algae, I believe, for types of
Algae.
biofuel. Yeah. So out of all of that, then, what other topic is first and foremost in your mind? For example, space travel and colonization, or super longevity, or crypto, or geopolitics, or quantum mechanics and quantum computers. Do you have an esoteric topic that you
Well,
just love?
well, the cultural consequences of super longevity and superabundance, I think, are going to be profound. And I think I think life takes on a more of a significance when this fragility of this short, limited human life has been transcended and a person isn't putting the majority of their bandwidth into making a living. I I think it'll be interesting to watch how we branch out the things we value, the activities we enjoy, the because that's the thing is a lot of people never like really pick up hobbies because they're so busy just running and trying to catch a breath. And also, I think we'll be more responsible stewards of resources once we have longer time horizons.
I like
And
these
this is
perspectives. Very good.
and this ties back into the world of energy in the sense that when you get into things like nuclear power, that has a long time horizon and it takes a long time to amortize. And that's a lot of why nuclear power is not more common, is because capital is optimizing for shorter time frames. And there's other ways to get your money back sooner than building a nuclear power plant.
You know, on that particular topic, real quick, is there a reason why you like the modular and smaller nuclear power as versus what I'm used to, which is the colossal 20-year development of a multi-billion-dollar plant?
Well, if our institutions were in shape for it, I would not be at all. opposed to an American equivalent of like the Mesmer plan, where they figure out a reactor design that works and just copy them everywhere. And we kind of had that in the 50s, although we didn't do it as uniformly as the French, but we did have public support for nuclear, and the Dwight Eisenhower's peaceful atom speech and nuclear power even back then was thought of as the path to this post-scarcity world in the imaginations of the futurist of the time. But the small modular reactors have safety benefits to help with some of the fear around that. And also, I just think with America being a very market-oriented society, having a collection of competitors building these reactors and marketing them will be, you'll see better rollout. And these companies are trying to build very plug and play solutions to get over the fact that when you offer to sell somebody nuclear power, obviously the first thought is that sounds complicated and dangerous. So I think it's very nice that you have these companies trying to sell these like full service packages of we'll build the reactor, we'll sell you the reactor, we'll operate it and maintain it, plug and play. And that's what the data centers need right now.
That's an excellent insight. Everybody, Jacob has written an excellent chapter on how to power our future. Jacob, thank you for your time, for your energy, your efforts in writing this chapter for us. Have a great day, man.
Thank you. Have a good one.
OmniFuturists.